Now, this is a little bit of a strange, interesting direction for the Rurouni Kenshin anime to go in because instead of just jumping into the beginning of the Kyoto arc and introducing Saito in this episode, which a lot of people thought they were going to do, myself included, and the point that we only have 5 episodes left, including this one. So after this episode, we only have 4 episodes left of the season. I believe that they were going to begin the introduction of the Kyoto arc, introduce Saito, and then end on the cliffhanger, which is mild spoiler alert, Kenshin leading himself towards Kyoto, we thought that that was going to be the case. Now, some people pointed out in my last review that I didn't really catch when they showed the preview title for this episode. It was called Act Zero Part 1. I did not notice that. Also, I am a huge Kenshin fan, and I have read the manga numerous times. I've watched the original anime numerous times, watched Trust and Betrayal over and over again, but I do have to admit something. And that's that anything that was released manga-wise of Rurouni Kenshin after the original series, which does have a conclusion, it ended. Like, the original Rurouni Kenshin series is 28 volumes long, and at the end of that last volume, it is the end. It's like a definitive end. The fact that it was picked up and continued later on with the Hokkaido arc, that is something completely separate that I believe does continue the story, but when the story ended in the 90s, the original manga, that was the ending. So it wasn't like it was open-ended. There wasn't like plot points and plot threads that weren't concluded. Like, it finished. So to me, that has always been the manga. That has always been the story. I never got into the newer stuff just simply because they don't sell it in America because of the controversy with Watsuki. I don't believe it'll ever get an official translation. And with everything else going on, I think at the time period it came out, I just wasn't really into manga like that. And then also, when I did get into manga, there was like all these other series to read. And I always figured like, well, I read Kenshin. It's my second favorite manga of all time. I finished it. I don't know. I guess I just never had the inclination to truly sit down and experience the Hokkaido arc. Now, this episode doesn't adapt anything from the Hokkaido arc. I'm just using that as an example of there are some things of the Rurouni Kenshin manga that were released after the original series, including some kind of one-shot side stories, which this episode adapts. So this adapts Act Zero, which came out in 2012, which I have never read, and that leads us into the beginning of the series. So this is basically like the last thing Kenshin did before he met Kaoru at the beginning of episode 1. So it is a side story. It's, I guess, not technically filler since Watsuki did create it, but it is a side story and it doesn't really play into any of the events that are going to come before or after it. So you could kind of consider it filler. It's a side story is what it is. But in anime context, it's probably going to be considered filler because this episode and the next episode are not going to play into anything that happens in the future. So it's a little bit difficult to kind of just feel like where you want to place it in the series. And I do think it's cool that they're attempting to adapt it. And that also could potentially lead to good things down the line because there is also a side story, I believe, that expands the backstory of Makoto Shishio, who is one of the best antagonists and like the main antagonist of the Kyoto arc that we will get to. So if they animate that, that could be really cool. And it also leads to the potential of them animating the Hokkaido arc once they finish, the original run of the series. If the anime continues to do well and continues to progress, well, there's more material for them to adapt. But when it comes to stuff like this, I don't have the 20-year history that I do with it, like the original manga series and the original anime. So this is my first exposure to Act Zero. And I can definitely tell by watching it that this probably would have been an entertaining little side story in the manga, but watching through the anime episodes when you're hoping to get to the Kyoto arc, it is a bit disappointing, especially the fact that they're splitting it into 2 episodes. Now, that would mean that there are only 3 episodes available to do the beginning of the Kyoto arc with Saito, which I think they could do because the introduction in the original anime series is 4 episodes. If they speed things up a little bit, they could probably condense it down to 3. So it's still possible that the season is going to end exactly where I thought it was going to, but having 4 episodes to do it as opposed to 3 would be better for the storytelling and not feeling like you have to rush particular moments. Because I think the 90s series did it pretty perfectly. And if they want to expand on the battle between Kenshin and Saito, which they've expanded on a lot of the fight scenes so far, that's more time to take up in the runtime. So I really don't know how far they're going to get now. They might only get to the fight between Kenshin and Saito in the last episode, which would be a good final episode, but it wouldn't end on quite the same kind of closure point as they could end with the Firefly sequence, if you guys know what I'm talking about. It's hard to... I don't want to spoil a thing for anime only, so I don't want to reveal too much, but I think longtime Kenshin fans will get what I'm saying. As far as this episode in general, I don't really have much to say about it. There is a plot going on where Kenshin wanders into a town. There's a rickshaw driver. He seems pretty cool, pretty wholesome. He's with a doctor character that wears one of those kind of like old school doctor, raven masks or whatever they are. Pretty obvious the entire time that this character is a girl, but they believe that it's a man. There's a cool idea here because it does deal with this history of Japan and how they open the borders to foreign nations and foreign medicine coming in, and how this one doctor wants to profit and he doesn't believe that this person should be helping to heal a sick person in the street because that takes revenue away from him. And he straight up says, like, medical care is a luxury that needs to be afforded. Like, you need to be able to pay for it, which nothing has really changed in these last couple 100 years or whenever this series takes place, in the 1800s. Like, it's pretty much the same, especially here in America, which is a Western country, which is the idea that they're talking about Western medicine and what it costs in Japan and to have, medical professionals there. So really nothing much has changed in all of this time. There's another character they introduced that has a different style sword, more of a, it's weird because I figured it was more of like a French sword, like that you would use for fencing, but then he unsheathed it and it has kind of like a spiral, like corkscrew look to it. I don't know. But Watsuki has always been really good about giving all of his characters signature weapons, which I like. He could just as easily given every character in the story a samurai sword, but I like that every character has their own specific sword. How Shishio's sword that you'll see is kind of like a sawtooth, and then Sanosuke primarily uses his fist. Yahiko uses a wooden sword. Kenshin himself has a reverse-bladed sword. Aoshi has the kodachis, which are smaller. So I like how every character has their own weapon, their own sword, and he even continues that theme when he's dealing with filler characters like this. So, I thought that was cool. But other than that, I don't really know what to say about the episode. I thought it was fine, but not what I wanted it to get to, and probably not what a lot of us wanted it to get to. But if I'm looking on the bright side, I think the bright side is if the anime studio is willing to adapt these side chapters that have come out, that definitely lends more credit to them adapting stuff like the Shishio one-shot and the Hokkaido arc once they eventually get there. Now, I know I should probably read the Hokkaido arc, and actually, maybe that'll be the next main manga I read on my channel. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. But yeah, other than that, I thought the episode was okay, but I'm looking forward to other stuff. So let me know how you guys think down in the comments below. Leave a comment and a like to help it out in the algorithm. Thank you all the Kenshin fans that have been coming week to week. These are the worst performing videos on my channel, but I'm glad that there's a small, passionate Kenshin fan base still out there somewhere, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you do want to support the channel on a deeper level, I have a Patreon, channel memberships, merch store, all that linked down below, as well as the social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.